Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 4, Chapter 24. The Sandlewood Tree. The importance which Sanatana culture, unchanging truth, gives to Dharma was explained to you by the Pandit. He outlined some of the main principles of that subtle ideal. Dharma, righteousness, is the feet, and moksha, realization, the head of the human community, while the two other Purusha Sastras, Artha, wealth, and Kama, desire, form the trunk and limbs. Now, feet and head are ignored and the other two reckoned as vital. That is the tragedy of modern times. Enough warning against this tragedy has been given in the ancient texts of this country. The Kauravas are useful examples of the calamity that awaits those who pursue the ideals of Artha and Kama without the regulating influence of Dharma and Moksha. They were drunk with power. They were overcome by greed and pride. They had insatiable desire. They suffered untold misery and they were destroyed. Ravana fell because he strove to accumulate artha and was carried away by covetousness, karma. His 10 heads indicate his mastery over the 4 Vedas and the 6 Shastras, but of what avail was all that learning? Anjaneya reported that Lanka was echoing with the recitation of the Vedas, and the air was thick with sacrificial smoke. But the Rakshas, demons, were wicked in spite of all that ritual exactitude. Ritual must result in righteousness. Otherwise, it is only rigmarole. Ravana sought to gain Prakirti, not Purusha, the manifestation, not the manifester. Sita, not Rama, and so his life became futile. Kama is the 3-headed demon. When you win your desire, you develop lobha, miserly greed, to retain the gain and see that it multiplies. When you are defeated in desire, you develop krodha, resentment, anger. Even tapas, penance, might not transmute such a character, as seen in the case of Brahma Asura, who sought to destroy the very Lord who granted him the boon he was after. Kama, Lobha and Krodha are all forms of Rajoguna, quality of passion and activity. The feverish activity that ignores the means while concentrating on the end. Rajoguna pursues the goal, but is not particular about the correctness of the path. Qualify yourself and desire. There is a story of some monkeys who planted a mango garden. They planted the saplings, watered them a few days, and plucked them from off the ground to see how deep the roots had gone. They wanted them to grow fast and yield fruits, but they were unaware of the process by which alone they could get the fruits they craved for. Act right, then claim the fruit. Cultivate with care and collect the harvest. What is the good of burdening yourself with desire when you do not have the qualification to fulfill it? Madhurnath once asked Ramakrishna Paramahansa for a chance to enjoy what was known as Nirvikalpa Samadhi, superconscious state of bliss about which he had heard. Though Ramakrishna demurred because he had no qualification and preparatory training for it, he insisted. So when at last the master acceded and made him lose consciousness for 3 days, the poor man protested and appealed for an end to that experience. It was a burden too heavy for his weak shoulders. The 3 gunas, qualities of the mind, have to be transcended one after the other. Tamas, lethargy, being transmuted into rajas, passionate activity, and rajas into sattva, serenity and poise. and Sattva too at last into having no characteristics. The gunas bind man and leave impressions. Tamas is like the worm that creeps and crawls in a fall. Rajas is like the fly that sits on foul things as well as fair. Sattva is like the bee that visits only fragrant flowers, but all three are drawn towards objects. Whereas one should be free from all traces of attachment. When hearts are infested with flies and worms, the flit of namasmarana, constant remembrance of God's name, has to be used for disinfecting the place. You must recognize the high purpose of this human body and the unique chance man has. Then only will you strive to benefit by this hard-won piece of luck. The magnanimous king. A Raja, king, was out hunting in the forest, and while pursuing the deer, he went too far and discovered that his retinue was left behind. He lost his way and was overcome by hunger and thirst. At last he saw a tiny hut where lived a poor woodcutter and his wife selling fuel in distant villages. Their larder was almost empty, but the wife managed to bring out a roti, bread, which the king ate with avidity. He had never known such a taste, for he was never so hungry as then, and he slept soundly that noon, for he was never so tired as then. By that time the courtiers and soldiers came up to where he was, and the astounded woodcutter learnt that his guest was no less a person than the monarch of the realm. He apologized for the poor fare he offered, though the king never uttered a harsh word. Tragedy of man everywhere. Next day, a man came from the capital to take him to the court, and the poor fellow was certain that he was going to be punished for insulting the ruler. His wife accompanied him, for she offered to share the misery with her lord. The Raja gave him a seat and insisted upon his sitting, an honor which the woodcutter knew was usually given to animals that were about to be sacrificed. He was fed nicely along with his wife, another honor which such animals usually get. Then the king asked him what boon he would ask from him, and the terrified man could ask for only this: "Please allow me to go home alive with my wife. Please do not cut off my head," he cried. The Raja said, "I am not an ungrateful wretch to treat you so cruelly. If I give you an estate, you will ruin it. You are unaware of agriculture. If I give you riches, thieves will carry it away, for you live alone in the jungle. Well, I shall give you a sandalwood plantation in that 40 acres in extent. Make good use of it and prosper." The woodcutter felt relieved and he went away into the woods. After about 6 months, the king went to the forest again for a hunt, and remembering the bread, he went in search of the woodcutter. He found him quite happy, for he said that he had started selling charcoal instead of fuel. The sandalwood trees were being reduced to charcoal by that man. He did not know the value of the gift he had received. Man too does not realize the value of the precious gift of the number of days of life he has received from the Lord. He fritters them away for temporary earnings. That is the tragedy of man everywhere. Sanatana Dharma has laid down the rules and regulations for the best possible utilization of life. But for want of teaching, exposition, and example, they have been sadly neglected. This is like inflicting injuries on oneself, this neglect of the rules, which give real happiness and peace. This is like the foolishness of living upon your neighbor's leavings while your own home has a relishing, nourishing banquet already. Regulate the way of living. Reform the body, reconstruct the mind, regulate the way of living. Then the country will become automatically strong and prosperous. Do not wail that is a mud pot if it contains nectar. It is far better than having a gold pot with poison in it. The land may be rich, but if life is mean, it is deplorable. It does not matter if the standard of life is poor, provided the way of life is pure, full of prema, humility, fear of sin, and reverence towards elders. It is easy to restore this way of life, provided the Vedas are once again studied and followed. The Vedamata, mother of Vedas, will foster in you love and kindness. Have faith. Do not discard a diamond, dismissing it as a piece of glass. The Dharma laid down in the Vedas is the best armor to guard you against sorrow. Women should observe Stri Dharma and men Purusha Dharma. The householder Grihastha Dharma, the monk Sannyasa Dharma. The path of righteousness prescribed for each category of persons. The outward symbols like shave head, the ochre cloth, Kamandalu, these are like the barbed wire erected to protect the crop from depredation. But what we now find is there is plenty of fence without, but no crop within. You may have a grand feast on the plate, but unless you have hunger, you will not be tempted to eat. There are qualifications for every task, be it eating or fasting, be it leading a householder's life or monk's life. Only a stone that was once Ahalya and was saturated by dhyana, meditation, and remorse can be transmuted into human form, and only the feet of a divine incarnation can so transmute it. All stones trodden by Rama did not get transformed into women, nor did any of the feet that trod upon that stone had the power of giving life. The Guru must have the awakening touch, and the Shishya, disciple, must have the eagerness to awake. The relationship should not be like the snake with a frog in the mouth. The frog too weak to escape, the snake too full to swallow. The Guru must be able to save, the Shishya must be ready to be saved. Hanuman's dedicated service. Dedicate all tasks of offerings to the Lord. Never deviate from that attitude. Hanuman was such a bhakta. Rama was the very life breath for him. After the coronation, one day, Sita and the three brothers of Rama met and planned to exclude Hanuman from the seva, service of Rama, and wanted that all the various services for Rama should be divided among only themselves. They felt that Hanuman had enough chances already. So they drew up a list, as exhaustive as they could remember, of the services from dawn till dusk, down to the smallest minutiae, and assigned each item to one among themselves. They presented the list of items and assignees to the Lord, while Hanuman was present. Rama heard about the new procedure, read the list, and gave his approval with a smile. He told Hanuman that all the tasks had been assigned to others and that he could now take rest. Hanuman prayed that the list might be read, and when it was done, he noticed an omission, the task of snapping fingers when one yawns. Of course, being an emperor, Rama should not be allowed to do it himself. It has to be done by a servant, he pleaded. Rama agreed to allot that task to Hanuman. It was a great epic piece of good luck for Hanuman, for it entitled Hanuman's constant attendance on his master. For how could anyone predict when the yawn would come? And he had to be looking on that heart-charming face all the time, to be ready with a snap as soon as the yawn was on. He could not be away for a minute, nor could he relax for a moment. You must be happy that the Seva of the Lord keeps you always in His presence, and ever vigilant to carry out His behests. Select the name and form. The Lord cares for ekagrata and chitta suddhi, concentration and purity of mind. You need not feel that you are physically away from Him. He has no near and far, provided the address is clear and correct. Your letter will be delivered either at the next street or at Calcutta or Bombay for the same stamp. Smarana, remembering, is the stamp. Manana, recapitulation, is the address. Have the name for Smarana, the form for Manana. That is enough. Select one name and one form for Smarana and Manana, but do not talk ill of other names and forms. Behave like the woman in a joint family. She respects and serves the elders of the family, such as the father-in-law and his brothers and her own brother-in-law. But her heart is dedicated to her husband, whom she loves and reveres in a special manner. If you carp at the faith of others, your devotion is fake. If you are sincere, you will appreciate the sincerity of others. You see faults in others because you yourself have those faults, not otherwise. While in Dandakaranya forest, Rama was once reclining with his head on the lap of Sugriva, and the Vanara, monkey leaders, were around him. The moon was shining overhead in full glow, but there was the telltale spot which marred the fullness of the effulgence. Rama asked each one of them what the spot indicated. Each one gave a different explanation. The reflection of the sea, one said. A deep pit, another said. A mountain range, a third said. But Anjaneya said, it is your reflection I see on the moon. Your color, nothing else. That was the measure of his devotion. He saw everywhere, every time, only Rama. Have faith in your culture, which emphasizes the path of self-control and discipline. Do not be led away by the tinsel attractions of foreign cultures. Indian customs, like the wearing of the sari, are now adopted by Western women, while Indian women are wearing gowns. Indian women bob their hair and discard the kumkum, vermilion dot on the forehead, in order to look fashionable, but every Indian custom has deep significance. Ignored in this imitative rush, a vessel of sweetness can be spoiled by a drop of kerosene. Accept good things from other cultures, the things that help you to control the vagaries of the senses and the mind, to investigate and discriminate more clearly. Of the many lakhs of people who dwell in this city, you alone had the great chance to come and hear the advice given today. So make the best use of this treasure and decide on leading more useful lives from this very moment. Listen to all who speak of the glory of the Lord, who is in you as is in everybody else. Learn from all the methods by which you can discover Him and reach Him. That is my advice to you. Madras, August 15th, 1964.